Welcome back to 2 p.m. with the Trigger. It's a beautiful day. Hopefully, you're having a good one. And we're going to just jump into your world for about 15 minutes or so and introduce you to a influencer leader. Peter Ainley is going to be joining me today. Normally, we talk about helping you shine on camera, shine on stage, to elevate your brand. We're actually going to elevate a brand today. We're actually going to help elevate the World Ethics Organization. And the Global Ethics Day is coming up. October is going to be a big celebration, a big event, and the World Ethics Organization is throwing a party with amazing experts, leaders, influencers. But I'll let Peter tell you all about that. As Peter Ainley comes on, he is an executive leader, influencer, and he is also on the advisory board for the World Ethics Organization. Welcome, Peter.
Well, thank you, Trigger, for that. That was great. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yes. So many people may not be aware of the World Ethics Organization. So first of all, enlighten us on what the WEO actually is.
So thanks for that one, Trigger. Yes, the World Ethics Organization, it's an organization, a nonprofit organization, and our mission is to get the whole concept of ethics, get the narrative out there, get people talking about ethics in all the environments. So from a business standpoint, talking ethics in the business world, we're talking ethics at home, in communities, in every walk of life. And that's the goal. Our mission is to get that awareness out to people globally about ethics, the importance of ethics, and that this world, well, quite frankly, this world needs a lot more ethics than it does right now, doesn't it?
Well, and it's a great conversation, but the problem is with ethics, some people are really wanting to dig into this and they're wanting to explore the depth, the hope. Other people are running from the conversation of ethics. Why do you think that is? Why there's such a split in this? And it's pretty diverse.
It is, and it's interesting. And I think one of the fundamental reasons why you get this divide, people running from it and people wanting it, is people really don't know what ethics is. And one of the primary reasons for that is, guess what? It's not taught in schools. It's not mandated at colleges and universities not even as an elective in many cases, but it's not part of the correct educational curriculum at any stage. For the most part. So people really don't know what ethics is.
Well, and there's also this idea of what's ethical to you may not be ethical to me. So it's a sliding scale of ethics. And we don't want to, of course, push anything on anybody else in our current politically correct world. So it's really hard to have the conversation because you might actually offend somebody by talking about what you believe, right?
Right. And the whole idea of what we're trying to do with the World Ethics Organization is just bring that conversation of ethics. Let's have a conversation around it. What is it? What is your view of ethics? How do you see it? How do I see it? And let's talk about it and hash it out and have that dialogue, as opposed to trying to lock horns about it. Oh, well, my way's right, yours isn't, kind of idea. So it's getting that conversation going.
Well, October 18th is going to be the day. It's going to be 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You're going to do ethics in leadership. It's not like you couldn't pick a bigger topic, could you?
Well, I think it's an important topic. I think, and most people listening in would agree to that one. But yes, I mean, it does start. I mean, when you look at organizational structures, it starts with leadership. The leaders have to be the ones who introduce the ethics conversation, the ethics dialogue into the everyday actions of an organization in terms of families or communities. We have to do it as leaders. So,
well, and it also trickles down then from the leader to the team to the team leaders it should trickle down, and whatever your company is espousing to, you should all espouse that same thing, at least for the sake of the company, right?
Well, it's for the sake of the company, but I'm going to challenge it's for the sake of the customer or the clients more so, because I mean, any organization is in existence to serve others in whatever shape or form that might be. So how do you ethically transact? How do you ethically communicate? How do you ethically, because ethics ultimately is a discussion of right versus wrong when it comes to human interaction. So how are we ethically serving our clients in what we do, in what we say, and so forth?
Well, and it's not just going to be you. It's not just going to be your team. There's going to be 3 global leader influencers. They're going to make up a panel. Now, I'll be there to help moderate it. Sandra Robinson will be my partner once again. It's great working with Sandra. But you're going to have 3 great leaders from around the world digging into this with you, aren't you?
Absolutely. We've got Simon Langstaff from Australia is going to be beaming in and be an active part of that. He is the founder and executive director of the Ethics Centre in Australia. And then we've got Anne Skeet and we've got Walter Faulkner coming in as well. And he is also a professor of ethics. So we've got a good team of people coming in.
Now, this is all running parallel, connected to the Carnegie Foundation, has their own global ethical group. And they've been doing this for years, but now you guys are coming in and kind of saying, we're going to add our own voice to what's already being elevated, which I think is amazing.
Right. So the Global Ethics Day, which is being hosted by the Carnegie Council for Ethics in International Affairs, is running this Global Ethics Day. So there's all sorts of conversations and events happening around ethics. And the WEO was invited to be a part of that. And we're going to be bringing that panel discussion to that forum for that Global Ethics Day.
Now, I do want to distinguish, we've spent time discussing this and planning this with you, that this is not a theoretical head knowledge discussion. This is actually, you guys want to come away with action steps, call to action, practical things that you could do in your business, your life, your church, your family, wherever. You really want to bring this into reality, don't you?
Absolutely. We want to get this out into the mainstream. So we want everybody talking about it. And we believe that the more people are talking about it, and we can create, because one of the things we're looking to create is the ecosystem for ethics. So that will drive that ethical narrative, that discussion around ethics in all the different spheres of humanity. So, yeah. Well,
it's a culture of ethics, and it's amazing. I'm going to reflect back on my childhood. It seems so much easier back then. It seemed like we all kind of had at least a similar understanding of what being ethical in business and life, to your neighbors, to your coworkers.
Yeah.
It seems like we've completely gone off the rails with just basic ethical behavior of trust, love, respect. Those are just simple foundations. It seemed like it's gone.
It does. I mean, reflecting back to my own childhood, things were very different back then, and you did have more respect for others. You were more conscious of your decision or interaction with others. Was it right or wrong? And what could have been a negative impact for the other person? And now it's become more, I like to use the term, it's become the battle of ethics versus ego. Ooh. Ego being very much about me, myself, and I, whereas ethics says, okay, how will my interaction, what I'm about to do or say, how's that going to have a negative? Will it have a negative impact? Is it wrong what I'm doing to that other person or groups of people? You know, I mean, and ethics, it's beyond just values and principles that we choose to live by. It is really understanding the notion of what is right and wrong. Keeping your word. I mean, something as simple as that. Yes, that's an integrity issue. But if you're saying something you're going to look after people and you don't, is what's a negative impact of that from an ethical standpoint? Because you said you would. Now you've gone backtrack. Yes, you've shot your integrity, but was that ethical? And that there's an ethical obligation to do what is good for others.
David Smith is stringing along with us, by the way. He's thanking us for opening up this conversation. And thank you, David. If you have a question, drop it in. Please drop it in as well. It's an awesome topic to see you guys talking about. Yeah, because this is something kind of tough for people to do. And hopefully you guys are going to rip off the Band-Aid a little bit and get everyone to come to the table. Someone's got to go first, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there are other organizations around the world, but what our goal is as a world ethics organization, you know, the emphasis being on world, is to take this as global as we can, you know, to everybody, because we want to get everybody on board. The reality is, I think everybody wants a more ethical world, and people recognize that now. And, you know, just with what I'm doing within my own business is I teach ethics as part of when I talk about leadership, when I help people upscale, elevate their leadership, you got to bring ethics into it because it starts with leadership. So, yes.
And I love part of the tagline you guys are using with the WEO is you are using the power of ethics to build a better world. You do have an outcome in mind. Again, this is not theoretical conversation. You really have a vision of if we can get the conversation, if we can start going to action, there will be a change in our world. I love that.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's why I think everybody at some level, at least in their heart, knows there's a better way. And we at the WEO see ethics as one of the key things to make the world a better place for everybody.
Well, and again, this is going to be formed in a way that we're going to have different opinions on the panels.
Absolutely.
We want to have a live interaction from a live virtual crowd. So beam on in and join us. We're going to give you that information in just a few moments here. But this is not a one-sided conversation. I want to make that very clear. You guys are allowing for the diversity to come into the conversation so we do gain better understanding with the global community.
Absolutely. And that's why we're trying to bring different kinds of people into the dialogues, because we're going to have these events every month. So there's going to be different topics. The faith, religion is a very hot topic, a very polarizing topic. But, that is one aspect where ethics needs to have a conversation where the different views are spoken about. Business, we need to bring the business leaders into the conversation to talk about ethics. So let's have that conversation. That's what we're trying to do with starting off with this panel discussion on the 18th of October, is to get that conversation going and get people to chime in who have registered for the event. So register for the event, but chime in, throw out your questions. Let's make this a discussion, not just like you said, a one-sided conversation where you just got a bunch of people talking about their perspective of ethic. Let's get the questions going too.
Well, David's coming back in and adding into this that there's also the oversight. If you are going to put it into your business, you're going to put it into your organization, you're going to raise the volume of ethical. You also have someone that's going to say, hey, wait, time out.
Yep.
Violated, cross line. How are you guys going to help people wrestle with that? Because some people aren't comfortable calling the time out.
Right, you're right. And I think one of the reasons is because people are unsure of that and they don't want to offend anybody, and everything is this whole notion of being politically correct. But ethics is politically correct when you dig into it. So having a respectful conversation with other people, and that's what it is, allowing other people to have their view. Let's put that on the table. Let's talk about the different elements. We can agree to disagree. But what happens in that dialogue if we choose to respect the other person, listen to what the other person has to say, and maybe there is something in what they say that strikes a chord that, that is good to know. I did not know that. What happens if that happens? And that's the whole idea of having healthy dialogue, is no one person knows it all. But if we come together and dialogue around this topic, what can we take away that leaves us with a better world?
Well, here's the QR code. You can hit this QR code, register to join us. It's a virtual event. We will be streaming live through Zoom. That's the platform we're going to use. And we are going to moderate. Sandra D. Robinson and myself will moderate with the three guests. But it is a call for you to come join us as well. This is not just the WEO little group getting together to huddle up and do this. Their intention is to bring real people to a real conversation and make it really practical to talk about leadership and ethics.
Absolutely. So all I'm going to encourage everybody listening, join that conversation, ask your questions, so register for that event. Let's make this world a better place. Let's make it more ethical.
So David comes back and says, so you should actually use logic in this process?
Well, it's also a part of appealing to the human side of people, because I do believe that ethics, everybody in their heart knows what's ethically right.
And I love when you say that, and I've heard you say that before, because it comes from a place of hope. You're coming from a place of, I don't believe you have to live down here. I think we all want to live up here. So you come from that spirit of hope, which I think is behind the WEO's intention here, to go first, to make the conversation, to come to the table. And we literally are inviting you to come to the table through the first of ongoing. Again, it's great. You guys are not just doing a one-off. You want to
Exactly.
open up the door and say, let's keep going.
Exactly. It needs to be, and there's the example of, we're trying to lead with the example. Let's have ongoing dialogue, ongoing conversations, and we're doing that by hosting these panel discussions to get these conversations going and take them even out of that panel discussion, get people to have these conversations in their workplaces and home and communities.
Peter Ainley, thanks for taking the time to inform us about this. Best of luck with it. And there is a website for the WEO, right? They can go dig into this further?
Yes, absolutely. worldethicsorganization.org is the website. So go along to that, worldethicsorganization.org. That's the URL. Please go dig in, reach out to the team here, and they'll be more than happy to engage.
Peter Ainley, one of the board advisors of the WEO, taking time out of his day to join us here at 2 p.m. with the Trigger. By the way, I'm going to have to jump in a few moments because I am getting ready for the international book launch with Christopher Johnson we're going to go live at 3 p.m. this afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Hit the QR code. We want to invite you to the book launch. He is a global mentor, influencer, and he's a crazy dreamer that invites leaders and influencers to dream. I should ask him if he wants a global ethic conversation, because he'd probably love the dream and breathe into that. Hit the QR code. Come and join that for today. Prizes, giveaways, interviews, conversations, and it's all about be different, or be daring, be different. The new book from Christopher Johnson from Norway, by the way. So we're going global today. That's our theme here for the day. We're going global. Hey, that's going to do it for the day on the Trigger. Rich Bond. Trigger, thanks for dropping in and being a part of my day. We'll be back here tomorrow at 2 p.m. live with the Trigger.